What do we look like with these things on, anyway? What do we look like? What are we covering up? What are we covering up with masks? What's the symbolic meaning of wearing masks? You know, people like to talk about the particulate size. You know? What's the size of the COVID virus? What's the size? Is it fitting through the particulate the mesh? Is it fitting through the mesh size of your N95 mask, or your homemade cloth mask, or your paper mask like I just took off? Is that virus being blocked by that? If the virus exists. If it exists in any sort of way as it's being portrayed, which is obvious to even the muggles that it's not as being portrayed. Obvious to them. So, symbolically, humanity is in a mass identity crisis, right? Big ol' identity crisis. We don't know who we are. Even as humans, we don't know our lineage. Some of us know our lineage. I don't know mine. I've never looked into that. I've never done 23andMe. I've never Ancestry.com'd myself. Now that begs the question, why don't you know this already, right? All you have to do is to take a very neutral glance at your own life. Take a very neutral glance. Why don't I know this already? If you don't. I'm not saying that you don't. Maybe you do. Maybe you already know all this. But if you don't, why not? These sorts of questions will help you, it will lend you a glance into the nature of existence here. To be able to answer that question. Why don't I already have this knowledge? Why would I need to go to 23andme.com? Why would I need to go to Ancestry.com to find out my own lineage? Why? You see what I'm saying? Apologies if this sound quality is low. I know somebody had an issue with it. There's not a lot to do about that, and I am not about being a perfectionist, although I will attempt to mitigate annoyances. Perhaps by holding this thing closer to my face, but I don't mind it being imperfect. I don't have any perfect presentation to give anybody. So there's no metric by which to judge it. Not to mention, I'm, you know, I like to poke people because everyone's sensitive. Right? But back to the masks. It's kind of interesting what it does to the psyche, because aside from the whole, you know, let's protect each other from little itsy bitsy things that we might cough at each other, aside from that sort of idiocy, you know, like the level of intelligence that's being worked on with these pressures. It's asinine. Even NPCs should be just fully insulted by the level of the level of intelligence that is spoken to in the emails that come from all these companies. I'm sure everyone has received them. I've received them from every company I've ever done business with. Hey there, Mr. Person, Mr. Gary. I just wanted to let you know that you should wash your hands. Wash your hands with soap. 20 seconds. You know, the whole, we don't know why people are getting sick, and then, you know, the microscope was invented, and finally we realized that there were little tiny demons inside of people, and when you cough, those demons, you know, they have a waterway that has been established, and now they're rowing their canoe over to the next guy to infect. That stuff was supposed to have happened in the early 1900s, or whenever medicine supposedly became modern. And you're telling me that in 2020, in the biggest pandemic the world has ever seen, biggest pandemic, that's the height of scientific advice. That's the height of medical advice. Cover your mouth, wash your hands, and don't go near anybody. That's the height of advice that can be given by all these companies. This is why I haven't even talked about this thing, because it's like my eyes are rolling too hard for me to even not have a headache while I'm trying to discuss it. It's silly. Everyone's a child. You know, like, it's like everybody's in kindergarten. And the reason for this, it's not, I'm not claiming that I have the answers, but I feel like the reason for this is it's trauma. We are sensitive beings. Okay, like if the power structures are powered by trauma, then it makes sense that the adults are all behaving like children, and that there is no logic in any of the hierarchy of the control structure of even something simple as a mom and pop donut shop, like a place that I work at, in-home care facility for struggling youth, troubled youth. It makes sense that there isn't a lot of logic going on. Because if you as a collective have been traumatized and you've built all kinds of altars, which we have, you could even say on the lower level of trauma, you just build altars, you wear different hats. Like, I'm a mother here, I'm a daughter on this end, I'm a cook, you know, when I rustle up some food. Even just the wearing of hats can be associated with some level of trauma, especially if there's certain fatigues or stressors that are inherent to any one of those. Well, you can always remember to any of the other hats if you're tired of one of them. So you can bounce back and forth between altars. Those are altars. There are low-level altars like those, and then there are the higher-level altars where you could switch back and forth between a serial killer and just a family man or something. Many cases of those. So it's almost like the collective has been so traumatized that even the control structure that is sucking the energy, they don't know how to even get their disgusting, vile message through anymore, because the people can't like do it anymore. I think that might be what's actually going on. The people, they can't even, there's no internal response method for guiding inputs. They don't have the neuroplasticity needed to form new pathways. They can't even listen to old shitty pathways. I mean, speak nothing of goals and, you know, ideas of how a human should fit within his environment, and, you know, how a human should operate in a fixed environment. We are not in the infinite here. We are in a footprint. You know, we have limited resources, even outside of the falsely imposed scarcity. Outside of that silly shit, we have limited resources, supposedly. Okay, like, we don't just see the ocean go on forever and ever and ever. We come to the end of it eventually. Our roads, we come to the end of them eventually. So we have some sort of finitude to work with it. And the people have been so traumatized or trauma bonded to Daddy Satanism or Daddy Yaldi or Daddy whoever the fuck he is, Baal, Moloch, whoever the fuck is the big old black hole that's trying to eat itself and everything else. People are so trauma bonded to that motherfucker that they can't even think creatively about something as idiotic as this thing that's going on right now. There's nothing intelligent in it. Even if you were to try to weave it in somehow as a master narrator, as a master storyteller, you were trying to weave it in somehow. It's silly shit. All the businesses that are saying anything about it look like retards. Everyone who talks anything about it looks pretty fucking stupid. It's just silly, dumb shit. Social distancing. And then people are complaining about how it's not social distancing, it's physical distancing. What the fuck even is social distancing? Does it mean I push my Facebook account further away from my Instagram account? What the fuck does that mean? Or I don't log in as often? That's social distancing? People don't even know that words have different definitions anymore. Let alone, not only do they have different, like, official definitions, but inside of that official thing, there's your own interpretation of it and your own history with whatever that word is, whatever interconnections have been made in your own life. Every word that comes out of your mouth has its own living essence. I listened to this guy, Chuck Swindoll. And there's a Chuck Swindoll back in the day that was some evangelist dude. And this guy, he's some hippie looking dude with some long hair. He's talking about Luciferians or Satanists. And I know people are like, no, there's a difference. I get it. Lucifer is the light bringer and Satan's, the big bad guy. Yaldi, whoever. But this person is animated. He has something to say. He says it with some energy. And it's unusual. And there aren't that many people like that left. There aren't. It's like everybody has been vrilled. Every fucking person has had a little worm stuck in their eye, and their mind has all been sucked out and put into a little jar to sell at Walmart. Buy, you know, this muggle mind stuff's $10. You can make yourself a thinking calculator. It will think like 3 thoughts at you, then it will puff away. You know, the muggle minds aren't even worth anything to sell at Walmart. The Vril probably don't even want those. What would you do with it? All that's in there is bad memes. So, I'm happy to find this guy, Chuck Swindoll. He's not the Chuck Swindoll that you probably have heard of, but he is a Chuck Swindoll apparently. And he's got some essence. It always got some life stuff still up in there somehow. So going ahead, I'm not sharing this because of the message, because the message is already out there. The message, we're in the fucking message. We're in the Satan's asshole. We're in the stink. We're like slopping our way through diarrhea fields every single day. And the level of intelligence that we live moment to moment is severely lacking, okay? I can say this for my own self. I know that what I'm doing day to day is silly shit for this silly paper magic system that if I had my own say about it, it wouldn't look anything like the things that I'm doing currently. I understand that. I do it willingly. I know what the alternative is at this moment, and I'm declining it. But it doesn't stop. It does not stop the reality that we're living at just about the lowest possible level of selfhood, of sovereign selfhood. We're living at about the most possible simmer of that we possibly could, without actually winking out and becoming a full-on muggle NPC creature. We couldn't get much more close to that low ideal without actually disappearing as soul sparks. We couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I didn't think I could become more silent internally without disappearing, but somehow I'm still here in this place. And it's kind of astounding to me even. And I've been here for a long fucking time. It's not about logics. It's not about can the little disease thing fit through the holes of the mask or not. It's not about electroporation like Aurora's talking about. It's not that. It's not about NVO 44 or 4800, whatever the fuck that thing is called. It's not that. That is not the important thing. I mean, sure, Mark of the Beast, not good. Don't take forced vaccines. Yes, of course, don't do that shit. You know? But it's not that. It's like, it's the ability for humans to see that something is going on at all. Like, that's the thing. It's not like, oh, you know, I'm weighing my options here, and I have Mark of the Beast, you know, must take this mark or this chip, or I can't engage in trade, and therefore will starve. It's either that, or, you know, I become a bum and panhandle, and probably they're gonna, you know, remove the ability to earn a living that way without some sort of, like, degraded mark. Okay, the bums get some shittier mark than everyone else. You know, or I just literally walk out into the woods, or I commit suicide, okay? These are my 4 options. it would be a different story if people were actually doing that. I don't think they're doing that. That's the thing that concerns me, is that this type of thing, which is just, to me, the silliest shit you could possibly imagine. You know, shut the whole world economy down, shut everything down, don't let people go to work anymore, tell them to social distance, have all the businesses send out this shit. I don't know what threat they were given to send out this silly shit about washing your hands and wearing masks, but somehow someone threatened them. This means to me that the businesses don't have any intelligence in them. Nothing. That's what's concerning me, is the very fucking low level of intelligence that's involved in this whole thing. It's fucking stupid. I don't even think people are, for the most part, capable of... I'm not talking about, let me do the Matt thing. Not you guys, not my listeners. I'm sure you have the capability to put together some options, especially if you're held up against a cliff and, you know, told do this or whatever will push you off, in so many words. I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about the ones that we share the world with, these muggles that are buying toilet paper in the time of a fucking pandemic. Their shit matters somehow. Like, the stuff they do somehow matters to us. I don't exactly know how, because I barely even notice them. I barely notice them going in their fucking stupid circles, driving their big trucks. I barely notice their existence, but somehow these muggles are somehow involved with this whole thing, and I don't... The level of non-consciousness that somehow drives them is concerning to me. Not any of this other shit. Like, this other shit could be interesting as a species, or as a being that has been here for fucking ever in this retarded backward place. Maybe something new is happening. That's what was exciting to me. Maybe something new is happening. Finally. Maybe. But it's concerning that I don't think the majority of people even lack the capacity to formulate that they have these 4 really shitty fucking options right now. And I'm not saying that those are our 4 options, or that we're even at that precipice at all. I'm not saying that at all. I just... the level of blankness in these people. I don't know if even as a shitty storyteller, which you would kind of have to be to tell the story of enslavement of this place, kind of have to be a crappy storyteller. Plot holes everywhere. You know, have the majority of the beings or the people-like creatures just dumb as... I don't want to offend rocks or doorknobs or what the fuck ever, but the most of the people are just empty vessels for whatever. I don't even know what they're for. I don't know what's the purpose. I don't get it. I don't really care. It's like the whole realm is some incestuous inbred creature that is just bored as fuck of its existence, but it can't stop somehow. It just keeps on grading forward. So it just shits out another thing. It's like, God, I finally got another little piece, finally squirted out another little shit named COVID-19. Oh, thank God I finally managed to get that one out. I can breathe a little bit now. It's like Yaldi pooped out COVID-19. He probably didn't even have any special anything for it. He probably had no plans for that little piece of poop. And somehow the inhabitants of this realm managed to grab onto that and be like, buy toilet paper. I'm sorry, this became a little bit of a rant. Anyway, hope you all are doing somewhat well. Take care. Peace.